Thanks for joining us. This is the Language Men's Mental Health Channel. Another week. Let's get in the fire. Let's get that heat. Let's grow, huh? And in this creative pursuit of just trying to give you a way to remember these formulas, you know what I mean, towards your goals and use things and understand yourself. We've been talking about the key, holding your key, other people holding your key. And in reflecting back, I really loved that last episode and everyone's feedback about it, how they weren't expecting that, and just being a little mixtape, a little project, just in the wild like that. That's the type of stuff that we do here. Freestyle, all up here, giving it to you. Where am I at? I'm at my crib. It's kind of how my lifestyle needs to be able to keep this promise and teach you this language. It's going to be necessary to mix it up. And in doing so, I wanted to take a little bit more of this opportunity to make sure you really understand this concept of holding your key and other people holding it. I'd say one of the first keys I ever learned how to hold in my whole life was when I actually got one of my first fights. And another boy was a few years older than me, and he ended up throwing an object at my face, like a can that was closed, and it's like, it'd be heavy, right? I think like a can of soup, would it be? And he threw it at me, and it hit me right in my mouth, and it split up my lip. My mother was super worried about it, didn't want to give me stitches, was worried about the scar, but she taught me how to hold my key at a young age, just being like, hey, that's your charm, like people like you more because of that. And I just believed her. And my whole life, if people ever mentioned anything about it, I'd be like, my charm, because I hold my key, like I like it. It's part of my story, and it's just the look that I'm in control of liking, and I do like it. But I've had people at times that were like, you know, people see that scar on your lip, right? And I'd be like, my charm? So confused because I held my key. And there's other things where I held my key too, from going to school at SC and paying the amount of tuition I paid for, you know, a top tier education, to get access to the literature, to be able to combine these experiences with my life. A lot of criticism with giving away full scholarships, go and do that. But I knew what I was looking for. I knew what I was getting with that education. These things are for me. The way that my style is, how we do mental health, these formulas, these creative ways so that you can know how to apply the science in your own life. I hold my key with that. I hold my key with this. And I want to take the opportunity with this episode, yes, hosting it here from the crib, to go into a time when I had somebody back at the studio, Alec McMorris, and in a way, his story totally about focus. He had a major thing happen that a lot of us would have been locked about. Now, these two terms, locked, unlocked, I introduced them after talking to you about holding your key and other people holding your key, saying that just because you hold your key doesn't mean you hold your key right. Now, if you think of like a door that's locked, it's locked like it will not open. It's a locked door. Literature suggests that if we notice anything that's wrong with the situation, let it be your outfit, let it be a meeting, a recital, way you did a song, anything really, that if you fixate on the mistake, it's all you see as far as you're not going to be happy. You're just going to see the mistake. It's like the classic glass half full, half empty. Half full, at least you have like milk in that glass after you ate a bunch of cookies or brownies. You can look at the milk that you do have, or you can look at it half empty as, wow, where's all the milk that should have been here? What's all the stuff that's missing? It's a way of being like, hey, I'm not going to accept what happened. Like, I don't love that, but I'm going to accept it because I want to be able to have some happiness, like some percentage of happiness. Meaning, like, if I can accept that it happened, and it is what it is, but look at the fact that like I have all these other things going for me, it's gonna help me not be locked and fixated, 0% happy and upset. I'm gonna at least be able to be like, hey, well, at least in this situation, and I have these options, and I'm like able to look at it in a positive way. I did not learn this without going through life experiences. From being a middle linebacker in college, playing football for most of my life, personal life with my anger in ways that got me locked, it's been a struggle. It's still a struggle. But the exercises and the tools, they are there and they work, especially when you see the image and you remember the formula. So basically, if you see a deadbolt lock in anything, it's gonna mean that you're locked on something that went wrong. If you see a deadbolt unlocked, means that that person, or in this situation, we're looking at something in a positive way, in a positive light, where it's not just what is wrong. And in my life, I've had different experiences where this has come more to life. So I want to get into this episode, see what you think, and you can see how Alec handled a big thing in his life that got him where most wouldn't even imagine being able to be unlocked with. And let's take a look at how he was able to do that and dive in and get into this story so that we can grow from it, and I'll meet you back. This is the language channel, mental health channel for men, for the world, trying to spread that light. Not trying, we're doing it. And today's episode is staying focused at overcoming adversity, maintaining a healthy perspective with my guy, aka Cock Spain, but it is Alec McMorris.
What's up, bro? How's it going?
My man.
Dude, thanks for having me out.
For real, like kind of different just to have you be here.
I mean, I don't know what it's been like before, but I'm pumped to be here. Anything for you, of course.
And I noticed that when I hit you up.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when you start to do things like I was telling you, it does kind of change the vibe a little bit because, you know, people feel certain things because when people change, it almost forces other people to change.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You know?
Well, I mean, you go through, like, something like I went through, you know, and, like, you notice that people aren't changing with you or they're changing in different ways, and you notice, like, who's there, you know? And when those people are there, like you were, makes it easy to just be like, yeah, dude, of course. Whatever you need.
You know,
change is good. Change is growth.
It is good. It is good. When we were chopping up in like the just kind of low keyness, I know we kind of mentioned that, and just you know, the obvious, like, I know you before your injury,
mm-hmm.
you know you now, but the things that we went through together,
mm-hmm.
from coaching in high school to just our personalities on the field and just things that were different, silly really, but just in like life things that happened too. And yeah, I was there. I think really, like, I have a memory of just I mean, I didn't really want to go into it just like this, but that was like it was definitely intensive care, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And I go there and they're like, hey, only family. And then I have a memory of you, and you're like, that's my brother. And like, what I've always known about you is, and I'm not his brother, but I saw that warmth of, hey, you know, that's my brother, and that's kind of the guy you are, man.
Dude, I mean, that's the guy you are too, though, you know? I mean, I feel like coaching especially kind of brings guys together.
Yeah.
And especially us coaching, both being like pretty young dudes on the staff that we were on and stuff, helped us kind of bond a little bit more, and you definitely taught me about like things that I wasn't paying attention to, you know? And so kind of, it felt like you were my big brother for a long time. So that was easy remember the Titans moment, you know?
Hey, how old were you back then? Because I think coaching 2009 was my last college football season
mm-hmm.
that I played, and then that was like what, 2010, 2011?
No, because I graduated in 2011, so that was a year before the accident, so it had to be like 2012.
When we coached together?
Yeah.
And I did 2 years over at West Jordan. Were you
mm-hmm.
there both those years with me?
No, because the first year I didn't coach, and then so I think I just did the second one.
You were there with your brother senior year, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, played well for me.
Yeah.
We played for himself, but you know, I was a part of it.
Dude, I mean, the coach, you know, like it's I had 2 kids signed today.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, that's all, those kids did it all, but it's like you also have an impact on them too.
Signed to next level?
Yeah.
My man.
Yeah, dude.
Helping them out, huh?
It's been dope, yeah.
Spreading the light?
Yeah.
No, your brother, Josh, you know, he definitely was, I knew where I wanted to take him, and I felt confident that impact,
mm-hmm.
you know, was different. And
he played the game the right way.
Yeah.
There in the end, and
Yeah.
he played with a lot of passion, and that's
Oh, yeah.
what I like to see.
Well, and when you have a plan like that for a kid and he buys into it, you know,
Yeah.
or like, you know, you get a whole team to buy into that.
Yeah.
It's magic, man. Like there's no better feeling I've experienced than like watching this kid grow up, you know.
Yeah.
And he's a stubborn freshman, like doesn't want to buy into what I'm teaching, and then he's all state and is a captain and you know, academic all state and all these things by the time he's a senior, and it's like yeah, that feels good.
Yeah. I like to see that within you and your brothers, Landon too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Man, we're talking about staying focused,
Mhm.
right? Overcoming adversity, maintaining a healthy perspective. Just going into coaching, I got out of a lot of different things.
Yeah.
It was a different time, and I had different experiences with that time.
For sure.
And but that experience as a whole was different. But going back to like some of the turning points, you know, like in mental health, we talk about kind of like, honestly, I have everybody really like do a timeline of all the major wins in their life,
Mm-hmm.
all the major losses in their life.
Mm-hmm.
But there was, what would you refer to the accident? Like, was that a win or a loss?
You know, I think if you would have asked me that like even 2 years ago, it's like the automatic answer is like win, dude, for sure, you know? And I think like a lot of that was like that's the perspective I had to have for a long time. So it was like I forced myself to have that. But it's like reality is reality, and it's some days that event especially is a win, and some days it's a loss, you know? Like really at the end of the day, it's given me so much positive. It's given me so much direction that I couldn't ever say it's a loss. But then also you look at it and it's like, you lost your leg, dude. Like, I'm not cocker running around like I was anymore, you
I was
know?
about to go into that.
Yeah.
I call him Cocker Spain because he was so shifty when we would just do little drills. He reminded me of like a Cocker Spaniel, like a little dog just you know,
Yeah.
I know you still got a little bit in that.
I got it, but it's like, yeah, it's only hopping around and pogo sticking, you know? Like, yeah, the shiftiness side to side and the quickness, that's gone. But, you know, there's also like, my passion used to be things like that, and it's still, you know, I still love football and everything, but it's like my athletic outlet. Like this morning, I went snowboarding.
I saw that.
It's like,
I saw that, and I didn't even think twice. And you had that mentality there for a bit. It was like some wakeboarding too, right?
yeah,
You were just doing stuff. Like,
Yeah.
It was an energy of like, you might see something different, but
yeah.
That's happening.
It really was just like, you know, I gotta, like, well, how can I just sit around? Like, if I could do the things that I love doing, you know, like, yeah, I can't, not that I can't, but it's like uncomfortable for me to go like play basketball at the gym, you know? Like, I don't play softball like my brothers play softball, you know, that old man softball and like turkey bowls on Thanksgiving. Like, I don't do all that anymore.
Yeah.
But I can figure out new ways to do like the things that are like doable that I could be successful at, and it's like I snowboard better now than I ever did with 2 legs for sure.
Unbelievable.
And it's like, I mean, I hammer that thing, man. I put in the days.
Tight, that's tight. What? Just the way that we evolve, the exposure, and being willing to stay in it even when it's uncomfortable,
Mm-hmm.
like a fire. Right?
Mhm.
Usually, fire people are like, I run from the fire, but if you learn how to stay in the fire, it's like to bend metal, right? It's a consistent force, pressure, heat,
Yeah.
and then if you do that consistently, it changes. I look at like what you're saying. I love the attitude with it. I see that time period. You know, it was clearly different. You know, I felt closer to you. I cared. It affected my life, and it was one of those things that once it happens, you are different, even if it didn't happen to you directly.
For sure.
Was there things I saw you working on doing? Yeah, and there was thoughts of like, man, how are his thoughts?
Yeah.
And that's something with the language when it comes to thoughts and how our mind puts images and words into our mind. There's priorities of the mind and protectives, reward. We go into that in the Essentials album. But really, receiving thoughts and not knowing some of those formulas, when you go through heat, go through life events, that's got to be difficult. And I want to talk to you a little bit about what were the thoughts that you received. You said a little bit you had to kind of have a perspective like, nah, man, you know, that was a win.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's safe to say that it wasn't always healthy thoughts.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, you know, like, Yeah, most of the time, anytime, you know, when I would go speak to schools, when I would like meet somebody new or talk to a family member, it would always just be like, no, this is, you know, there's worse things, and like there for sure were. Like I was, you know, I was talking to people every day that were like controlling wheelchairs with their mouths and stuff, and like I was becoming, you know, friends with them in the rehab unit. And
So you're in that system with people
yeah,
just
it's
going
like
through a
I'm
lot
seeing
of that?
people that are dealing with 10x what I'm dealing with, and like my heart was torn in half. Like
Yeah.
I should have died in 10 minutes. So like this really, you know, I felt, it almost felt like it was selfish of me to complain about it, especially when I was in the hospital. You know, I was like, no, there's so many other things that could have happened. There's so many other people dealing with so much more. Like I don't have anything to really complain about. I've said that a million times. And like I really don't. But then there's also, that doesn't mean that there's not days where it's like you're dealing with pain that like isn't even, you know, my phantom pain is such a strange thing where like my body's feeling my foot all the time.
Yeah.
But it's not there. And like when that thing gets out of control, especially in those early days, like there's nothing you can do. And it's just, you're on the ground screaming, man. And it's, you know, yeah, you have a lot of thoughts of like, what am I doing here? Like, why is it any of this, why is this happening to me at all? Like, I'm a 21-year-old healthy kid, like, was probably pretty arrogant and pretty, like, you know, self-absorbed and clueless.
Charismatic, though. And
Yeah.
made people laugh. And,
I tried,
but what toys with my thoughts? And, like, the brother thing touched me, but there was just, you know, I think about it. I mean, Alec, you were trying to help somebody out.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I like you. How about you tell them a story? Just a little bit of just like what happened. Because I don't want to say it wrong, but I swear, like, didn't you like pull over seeing somebody else needed help?
Yeah, I mean, it was it was October 30th, 2013, and I was going to Park City, to Heber, for just work. I was framing big houses with my uncle then. And I ended up going up Parley's Canyon by my cousin. We didn't plan it that way. We were just, you know, going to work at the same time. And so halfway up the canyon, there's the East Canyon exit, and there's like it's a exit, and then it's an overpass, and that bridge on the freeway is sitting like a half inch higher than the rest of the road. And it was late October, had rained the night before, so the roads were mostly wet, but like that bridge had frozen. And my cousin hit the bridge to like 85, I think.
Okay.
But I remember we were in like the left-hand lane, and I remember thinking like that bridge is sketchy even in the summer, like on a nice day, like it just bounces you because it's got that lift. So I moved over to the middle lane. My cousin, he hit that bridge and just slid out and hit the guardrail on the left-hand side, and so I still like vividly can see like as I'm passing him, his car is horizontal on the freeway, and I'm just looking at his license plate driving by. So I just pulled over. It was just him. And I was like, he's fine.
Yeah.
We'll just get his car towed, and he'll have a ride to work. It's easy. And then
Not everyone is that way, but you're like, yeah, of course we're gonna help you out in this situation.
Yeah.
You know.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
like, you know, it'll just, and then Uncle Mike doesn't have to come back down here and pick you up or whatever. You know, it's just like, okay. And when I got up to him, I asked him if he was all right. He said he was, and he got back into his car to get his phone. And then I noticed like both his tires had popped off the front axle of his car. One rolled over to the other side of the road, was out of the way, and the other one was on our side of the road in the shoulder. And so I went to go move that, which, you know, that was foolish. But as I was doing that, another truck was doing like 85, 90 miles an hour and lost control. And there's a video of it. Have you ever seen the video? Yeah, there's a video of it, and you see me look up and see the truck coming, and I jump like right at the last second, and when I jump, he hits me. Like, you see me flip in the air, and that's where he hit my leg and then threw me 30 feet
But
down.
you could have easily just not even That's the least of what.
That's the thing. If
Could
I
happen.
didn't jump, like you see,
Like
he's
you were in cocker
I
a
was-
little bit.
yeah.
You were,
Oh, yeah, it
no,
was-
you
if
know,
I didn't have
'cause
it-
if that way, that's a cocker move, bro.
Yeah.
You were jumping.
if I didn't have
You
it, like
would
you see
not
me
be
go
here,
over
brother.
the
Oh
guardrail.
my gosh, it came at
But
you like
it's-
that, though.
Yeah, but it's like, yeah, and
Man.
you can see, like, I'm standing in front of my cousin's 4Runner, and he smashes my cousin's car, and he pushes it another 25, 30 feet. So it's like, yeah, if I didn't move, I just would have been smashed in between the two cars.
Yeah.
But, yeah, they took me to the U, and like, I think I had like 5 or 6 surgeries on that first day, and then was in a coma for 5 days, and
Yeah.
they tried to save it for a little while, and then it got super infected.
That was the thing, was the infections kept running their course, and you had to make that decision. Huh?
Yeah, it was, so when I was in the coma, they took the abs out of the left side of my stomach to try to rebuild like what was still there, you know, and that was like my parents trying to make the right decision. Like, how do you say, okay, amputate my son's leg when you don't know what that looks like, you know, what that life looks like, especially when I just got done coaching and like, you know, was an active dude.
You had options,
Yeah,
you know.
totally.
Like we go over beliefs and really just like a puzzle piece.
Mm-hmm.
Beliefs, if they're a little bit distorted, they start to get like a crazier jigsaw puzzle. Like it doesn't fit into things as much.
Mm-hmm.
And when you have certain beliefs, you know, it's hard. Like literally, this changed the puzzle.
Mhm.
But pre-puzzle, you know, the injury, you had options. I
Oh, yeah.
mean, could have given it a go with playing for a little bit. Could have done different things. You know,
Mhm.
you had options. Now your options had to be adjusted, right?
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure, they obviously changed overnight, and so did
Yeah.
my priorities about everything.
And that's what I'm really curious about. Like,
Yeah.
what changed up here, and going into like the good things in your life.
Mm-hmm.
What happened to you sucks, man. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't want to know.
Yeah, I don't want you to either.
But I'm here for you,
Yeah.
and I'll try to know.
Yeah.
You know, best I can. But I don't want to know it that way because I see the pain. I see what it was like. But you seem like you've got some gems in your life, bro.
Yeah, dude, for sure.
State championship ring.
Yeah.
You know, I have to really focus on, be jealous with you on that one. I gotta really focus. But you got a beautiful wife.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I've
How-
lucked out for. I mean, you know,
Yeah.
it's like it's definitely some of it is just like I'm lucky to be born in like a great country where like things like this can happen, and I have, you know, access to medical care and
Yeah.
devices that I can thrive on. But then some of it also is like I had to struggle through a lot of different things for a long time, you know, to
Yeah.
feel like, oh, I'm starting to get the hang of this, and like I can live a real life and be a real adult and get
Yeah.
married and you know.
Exactly, things like that. The marriage thing, like, I think there's labels that come with going through certain things,
Mhm.
going through the fire, right? And then, was there labels in the thoughts, like, for going through the injury and your puzzle changing, you know? Like, just feeling like, hey, like, because, you know, I was close with someone here locally, Kate Fulmer, and he passed,
Mhm.
right? And he had the hand issue, you
Yeah.
know? And that was my experience, go to his grave a lot. And he had influenced my life, and that was just, I had seen, we'd go to the club, he tried to be upbeat about it, not
Yeah.
having his hand.
Yeah.
And he had that boating accent with it, and I just, you know, I got in my first club with him.
Yeah.
He's just like, he snuck me in my first club. Kay taught me a lot about life. He
Yeah.
told me who not to lend money to, do this with. He taught me how to lift. And I didn't care that he had the one hand, but there was some times I seen him low, man, and he would
Yeah.
open up to me about like, well, man, you know, and substances play their part. So
Mhm.
it doesn't mean that we're like, oh, hey, you had this,
Right.
you're not going to handle that, but that is, there people go different routes, right?
Yeah.
But what was it for you to like the thought of marriage, like for you to be like, hey, man, marriage, you know, people are insecure even with everything, let alone their limbs, all that,
Yeah.
you know.
Oh yeah.
But how did you kind of have that happen?
Well, I mean, marriage for me, I feel like the like bigger fear or like, you know, whatever barrier for that for a long time was like my parents' divorce and being like, I don't ever want to do this shit to my own kids, you know.
Yeah.
And so like that was always such like a driving force, and for a long time I really didn't think I would get married. And that was until I met my wife, and it was like, oh, once I met her, it was really like, this is silly, you know? But as far as like dating and things like that, after losing a limb and even like meeting my wife, you know, it's kind of, you can look at it a couple different ways. Like, you can feel discouraged about it, you can feel self-conscious about it, which is understandable, you know.
Part of me wants to say it shouldn't matter, right?
Right.
But it's also like, it's there.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. But you could also, like, you know, one thing that I think has been like super powerful for me is understanding like, oh, this can be like a gift in a lot of ways.
Yes.
You know, and so, and with like dating or friendships or relationships in general, like, that's almost where it's like a superpower, because it's like when I meet when I meet anybody, it's like, if this is obviously, you know, upsetting to them, then they're probably not, like, that's an easy tell right away, you know.
Sometimes I think that's why I even just be myself, and after going to school at SC, people are like, oh, that's a therapist, you know, what's up with the jewelry, what's up with that? I already kind of know, probably not gonna click.
Yeah,
you know,
it's
but
like
I'm
a cheat
free,
sheet.
and that's that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I love the way you put that perspective with it, because the people who are in your life, they are in your life, and I know you got the power of loyalty.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you think you got that one from, though? Because even when you were like, you know, joking around, whatever, higher levels of, you know, just entitlement, joking when we were younger, whatever it was, you were young,
Yeah.
but you had loyalty back then too.
I would say like loyalty maybe is like my strongest trait to a fault in
It's
a lot of
maybe
ways.
like the rarest trait to find, though.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's what has had me coaching in Grantsville, living in Salt Lake, like driving an hour to practice every day for 7
people
years.
Don't do that. That's not normal.
It's like,
Yeah.
you know, I'm after you take away gas, I'm making like $150 a season, and so it's like, but it is, you know,
The
and
impact, right?
yeah, and to be honest,
yeah.
like we haven't talked about this either, but Coach Bird got fired in February, and like the whole staff is basically back coaching again. I'm done.
Except for him.
Yeah, I'm done too.
That's like a loyalty thing.
But
bro.
and it's like, you know, I can't, like, even Josh is back there coaching. He's got a family out there now, and so like I understand where where he's coming from and everything.
All over
But
there tucked on that side of the mountain, huh?
Yeah,
Over here in the
yeah.
valley, y'all just, we need some people
So
back
they're
there, though. It's
hiding
good to
out.
have some people on that
it's
side.
kind of nice out there, you know.
it ain't bad, man.
But it's like, you know, it's a lot of, you know, like a lot of those guys have said to me, like, you're taking it too personal.
yeah.
Like, you didn't get fired or whatever. But it's like, man, I went out there with him. You know, like, he's the reason that any of us were there. Like, yeah, I don't think that we would have won a state championship if I wasn't there, but we wouldn't have won one if he wasn't there either.
He had a good mind with just seeing things,
Mhm.
those plays and whatnot.
Yeah, and
Definitely
so
had
it's,
his touch in helping us as we were young coaches.
yeah, and that's, you know, if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have graduated high school. Like, I probably wouldn't have lived. You know, like, he taught me a lot of things. He taught me a lot about how to not be entitled and how to be accountable, and like, you know, how to be disciplined.
Well, I'll tell you what, if Coach Mike Morgan found something in Coach Bird, it's because there was something about Bird,
Mm-hmm.
as there was something with any of us who are willing to help.
Yeah.
And we're there thinking we're helping the kids, but it was helping us.
Yeah, we were.
You know, not making excuses is probably the biggest thing that changed my life. I'm like, man, there's something I call pendulum,
Mm-hmm.
where like a grandfather clock.
Yeah.
It's just like a pendulum that swings left to right, right? And I'd say a lot of people don't know that the mind is designed to protect us. But sometimes, since there's like fires in our life, right? There's adversity in our life. It creates little excuses or justifications to kind of like make it better.
Mm-hmm.
Like, a lot of kids start to get hurt once it's playoffs and it's cold and everyone's coming out and they're like,
Yeah.
oh, like, I thought you were on the football team. I see you in the halls and you have the hurt ankle again. Oh, yeah, my ankle, yeah. Oh, man, all these things start to kind of happen.
Yeah.
How many guys on NFL Sunday wearing a jersey? Oh, yeah, bro. Oh, my back. It was when I was young.
Yeah.
And that's a pendulum. And I look at it like this. Like, if I were to hit my car and I just, like, was on the side of the road looking at it, and I'm there for like 4 hours staring at it, Well, I don't want your help. We already know what's been happening to you.
I'm staying in the car.
You wait, don't get the tire. You stay away.
I've done my duty.
Man. But it'd be like, there's nothing that staring at the damage is going to do to change it.
Yeah.
You got to call the tow, you got to move, right?
Yeah.
Imagine if I stayed there 4 days.
Yeah.
It wouldn't work. I'd have to get a Slurpee or something. Be like,
Yeah.
but people stay on the pendulum that feel like they're swinging with their feet not touching the ground, and they do not move forward.
Mm-hmm.
And it's an excuse to be like, oh, well, that's why I didn't play.
Mm-hmm.
This person was out to get to me. And it's hard because the mind actually, to protect us, is like, well, yeah, like, hold on to this excuse.
Yeah.
My God, you have literally the easiest pendulum to grab, and you're over here married, coaching, driving further, doing your thing. You're not holding no pendulum.
I'm trying not to, for sure. I mean, because I was, like, my junior year, I was that dude. It was like, you know,
We all
once
go
it got
through
hard,
that, bro.
yeah.
If I touch it ever in my life, I want the hell off. But Coach Mo taught me about the excuses. It was, well, my knee, well, that. And in reality, it was a healthier narrative than to go, you know what, well, Coach,
Coach,
I
I'm
just
soft.
Yeah, yeah. You know, it was like, hey, UNLV talked to me, and I didn't want to go out there, and I didn't really want to know, and I kind of felt like I proved to people I balled out,
Yeah.
and I got caught up in this, caught up in that. I have a lot of it labels and excuses, but the truth is, I had fear.
I was scared.
I had
Yeah.
fear. I thought the story was good. I had fear. But what were you gonna say?
No, I was just gonna say, man, like Coach Mo, man, like, you know, I played for him. I was lucky to play for him, really. But like, he always had this reputation of like just being a dick and, you know, not the best like football mind there was. Like, we ran the wing tee forever, you know. But
Yeah.
it's like, man, that dude he still is tough as hell. And it's like, the longer I've coached,
Yeah.
the more I appreciate him and the more I respect, you know, the way that he went about things. And if he would have had
Man.
one team where like every kid bought in, that team would have rolled.
True story, though. True story. I had gotten jumped at a rave. I was dancing with the wrong girl, and it was right when he got me on as a linebacker varsity coach. And I was at a rave. Some of the football players from Dixie State back at the time, out of state, they just wanted to check out Salt Lake.
Mhm.
Saw us linebackers, we went out there. And without getting into that story, just danced with the wrong girl. One guy came at me, then two guys came at me, and then next thing you know, some girl walks me over here to the corner, and I get jumped, and one kid in the stretcher, I don't know. I don't want to get into that one, but I chipped some of my teeth, and I'm still upset about that. I've never been knocked out, but that upset me.
Yeah.
But I will
Teeth
say,
are a pain. Yeah.
the thing that was a pain, though, was coach's meeting. I just got hired by Coach Mo, and I got a black eye.
Yeah.
And he's all, how did the other
Dude,
guy
I
look?
think I remember that.
Do you remember
actually.
that?
Yeah.
He's all, how did the other guy look? And I
Yeah.
go, and I'm like, I got jumped. He's all, pussies, you know? And but then it was something like maybe a coach's meeting 3 months, 4 months after that, man. And we're like getting ready to play Bingham. And I played Bingham. I know how that Bingham West Jordan stuff was. And of course, we're on this topic, right?
Mhm.
But the thing is I was like just really intense about it. And I'm like, no, like, Bingham's changed. I want us to, let's go. And he got upset with me, man. And next thing I know, we're in the front porch of Coach Bird's house, man.
Yeah.
The sprinklers are on. This man is getting hit by the sprinklers, and he ain't moving.
No
and
flinch
there
at all.
there is just water
Yeah.
falling. And he's growling at me, and it looked like he was gonna fight me. And I'm literally like, I think I said exchange some words, and I'm like, well, let's go then. Like,
Let's do it.
I said it, and then he was just. It was almost like he was like, that's right.
Yeah.
Like he respected
He
me.
was like, okay, you didn't step down. All right.
Yeah. I mean, Coach Mo, but
Dude,
for real,
I've-
but it was, my man, it really was something where they said if Coach Mo sees you in the street and he says what's up to you and he knows your name, he respects you, and that was
Mhm.
definitely a goal.
Yeah.
And that definitely happened, but he helped me not be on that pendulum.
Oh, yeah.
And he was like, man, you got an excuse for every dang thing in your life.
Yeah.
And it took a sec to click, but there's nothing we're gonna do to improve our situation if we don't move forward, man.
And it's on us, you know.
It is on
And that's
us.
the thing I think that, like, hey, man, Cody taught me the most is, like,
Yeah.
bro, we can help you. Like, people can and will help you, but it's got to be if you want it or not. It's the same. Like, I build prosthetics, you know, and it's like when there's somebody new,
Yeah.
and they ask me, like, how hard is it gonna be? Like, can I do it? And it's like, you know, maybe it's somebody that's 65 and like not very active and didn't take care of themselves too good before they lost their limb. Maybe that's why they lost their limb. But like at the end of the day, you know, it's like we'll get you the best, like, you know, the best thing possible for you.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I'm frustrated with like where prosthetics are. They should be a lot more advanced than where they're at. But it's like, you know, if you want to do it, if you want to be active, if you want to be able to walk, you know, 10 miles and like be a successful prosthetic user, like it's 90% like, do you want to? And if you want to, you can. And that's it.
Made me think though of like we're big on like creating desires, like wishes, things that we want in the future.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like you kind of create that path of where you want to go.
Mm-hmm.
State championship, like what you do with those young cats. Hey, I want this, and you really have to fill in that work and see it coming into fruition. You have to like level up.
Yep.
Leveling up, then it like comes true, and by doing that, the mind is strong. And what I value about your mind, and we were talking about your loyalty and some of the other things, is I think in a way, safe to say, it'd be harder to go, hey, I can be positive, I can have this, I can have that, because you're in this unknown thing you probably never even thought of, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But you were saying there was like more like kind of gifts or treasures about it, like.
Oh yeah.
Like, tell me more about that.
Yeah, I mean, like, you know, what, like I said, one of the, like, the biggest gifts is, like, okay, so it's a cheat sheet with people, and, like, you know, it helps me understand people a lot better, but it also, like, yeah, it's given me a career, it's given me things to focus on, it's given me, like, somewhere where I actually have credibility, too, like, you know, when I'm asked to go, like, test a new foot that's being developed or something, it's like, you know, engineers are like, they're excited to hear what I have to say, and it's like, you know, I don't have a degree in anything, I just living, you know, and it's like that's all there is in it. But it's like it's given me all of that. It gives me confidence in a lot of different ways, because it's like, man, if you go through something like that where you should die in 10 minutes and you don't, it's like, well, okay, I got to be here for something, you know, and that means like anytime I walk into a room, it's almost like an exciting time. If I want it to be, it's like, all right, well, maybe this will be the time that something pops up that makes this make more sense, you know.
You let people know about that news you shared about you and your wife?
Yeah.
You know the gender yet?
No. So our first appointment is on April 11th, so we're still pretty early on.
Okay.
But it's wild, dude. It was when we found out. I'm working on a like robotic prosthesis with the University of Utah, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a film crew from Japan out here, like, filming a story on it, and they came over to my house and like were interviewing me over there, and
my man, you showing me up like this? You've been out here,
dude, come on, man.
Japan.
Just
the beginning, bro. Yeah. Trust me, we got the wishes. We're gonna fill them.
That's
too.
right, man.
No, but what were they? So they had you come on. How'd that go?
It was great. It was super cool. We'll see when it comes out how it turned out.
Yeah.
But you never know the power of editing, you know. But it was crazy, because I was in our living room, like, talking, you know, to them in the interview about, like, things I used to worry about with my leg. Like, yeah, if I get married, like, how am I going to be able to support someone? Because, like, for a long time, I didn't even, like, know if I could physically work a full-time job, you know? Yeah. And it's like, so that allowed me, that was part of that pendulum of being like, well, this is all right. I can just chill out and, like, I'll live cheap because it's just me, and that's no big deal, you know? And but then it's like, you know, I met my wife, and it was like, shit, I need to get some of this figured out and grow up a little bit, you know.
And Kaka, I just saw you speak that a little bit. You were using the pendulum.
Yeah.
It's kind of, and you see that framework.
I feel it.
You're gonna be like, hey, you know, it's catchy with imagery, and you know,
for sure.
That's kind of what we're doing.
Yeah, dude. It's awesome.
Help you see it a little different.
Yeah.
This generation, I mean, you can be a father, gonna be raising your kid. You know, I got LJ and Zoe Caroline, and LJ's a young lion. Literally come in here,
dude, just
father stuff.
Yeah.
I had to remind him, I'm like, you're a king.
Yeah.
And you gotta inherit what you're gonna get.
Yeah.
And he was like, I'm a T-Rex king. And I'm like, when you're king, you get to pick whatever
you
king
can be
you
whatever
are,
kind of king you want to be.
Whatever,
man.
but my job is, as king, is to teach you to be a just king, to righteously inherit your inheritance.
Yeah.
And I do believe in that, though.
Yeah.
I believe that we are all kings and queens.
For sure.
And unlike in this world where I guess I've met a king from Angola. That was cool. And he in his like village and stuff when I was doing some service stuff in Brazil.
Mm-hmm.
But all you gotta do is be born into it,
Yeah.
right? And then it's yours.
Yeah.
When I'd asked some of the youth that I helped teach and stuff, I was like, hey, you guys know any kings and queens? And I mean, they brought up like the England, the classic.
Yeah.
I'm like, what's it take to become? What do you need to do to become a king? They're like, be a good role model. You don't even need to do that. You just have to have it like in your bloodline. But with God, you have to do a little bit more.
Yep.
And the bar is a little higher.
Everything.
And I think also with what you do in your life, how you play the game of life, depending on what you know, the bar is a little higher. But speaking of a higher bar, man, it seems like, and I feel like people at home too, it seems like the bar was almost like getting lower.
Mm-hmm.
As if like, no, it's okay. Don't push it. Don't.
It's all
and
right.
coaching's changed a bit.
Dude,
You talked about Coach Mo. I don't know if Coach Mo.
I don't think so.
Like-
That's you know, yeah. It's,
You know what I'm saying right there.
Yeah, definitely.
You know,
I
like
don't-
is Coach Mo gonna be PR like friendly with?
that's
Because
not,
he's proved himself as a player, as a
Yeah.
coach, and
and
we
that's
need
not
to get
him.
Coach on here.
You know, that's not him at all, and that's not his style, and like it definitely has shifted.
Yeah.
And like I couldn't coach the way that he coached me, you know. But it also is like a big part of why, you know, Coach Bird got fired just barely is because of a couple families that it's like,
Is that right?
yeah, it's like, you know,
They were doing trust over there.
all of them.
Do you remember us together?
Yeah.
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 That's tight though,
Yeah.
and I think that's cool
Yeah.
because that you know what that was about, and he was like, "Hey, I always love," it. And I'm like, you know, that's cool.
See, so we were family, and
Was
it was
it?
just forget about me, I love you, you know. And it's like,
okay.
my
Did your own little
sisters-
thing, little
yeah.
swag to it,
and you know, the boys came up with that. Like we gave it to the boys to be like,
and that's what.
yeah,
And you saw in that era, you saw what I was trying to do with your brother and them,
Yeah.
right?
take
I
ownership.
was like, don't wait for me as your coach to
Yeah.
tell you. I swear, man, nowadays it's like the kids just wait around, and I'm going to say it from what I've seen. I could be wrong, but it just seems like, hey, that's what coach told us to do.
Mhm.
It's over at seven, whatever. I'm like, no, fellas, where you going? We got players meeting. What? And if you complained and you cried, you didn't play over there when we were at Bingham, and it was like running on the mountain on a Saturday. It was like, you're not giving 100%. Well, you're not gonna be on this team. But if you did give 100%, at least how we were, we didn't care if your athletic ability. We gave you love and we respected you, but you had to give it all. And I don't see that the same, man. Someone gave me a reference about like they can't be like a big brother or like a like being harder on people. They have to almost act like a grandparent.
Yeah.
Kind of like, oh, like it's okay.
Yeah.
And things are changing, you know. But I think as men, our masculinity is getting attacked, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is like there's ways where you could be politically correct or whatever it is, and also like still hold the kids or whoever it is accountable,
Yeah.
and like still have a discipline and still like say hard things to them, you know, because that is real life, and like they're gonna hear hard things, they're gonna go through hard things, so they should be held accountable, you know.
Right.
And it's like, I'm sure it was the same at Bingham all those years, but the year that we won it, like that was the year that the kids, like, they were there before I got there. They stayed there after I left. Like, they were the ones that if their parents were complaining to the
Yeah.
school about, or the, you know, Coach
Yeah.
Bird about playing time or whatever, they'd say, shut up, like, doesn't matter.
It's like that.
They were the ones that, like, didn't care, you know. We had the 3A MVP on the team that year. If he would have rode the bench in the state championship, you wouldn't have heard a word from him. Like, he would
was like
have
that.
just said, like, whatever helps us win, man.
Bingham, when that era, they had talent, but they did not have like that discipline as far as like we would say it, but
Yeah.
it became another level because you know we created policies and they had consequences.
Yeah.
Like the level of consequence of like saying, hey, you're gonna do drugs, you're gonna do that. I've seen that destroy a lot when I was playing as a junior.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? For us to be successful during the season, no drugs, man.
Yeah.
No alcohol. And if you do, you're gonna miss 2 games. If you do it again, you're off the team. But dog, I've had homies that I played ball with. Like I had a homie, and I swear, it almost feels like, is this fake? He had 17 interceptions his junior year, and I kicked him off the team. I got drunken calls throughout my life him crying and being like, how could you do that to me? And it's like, brother, you signed that, and that's what we
did that
did
yourself.
at that time. Have I made choices after that time that could see hypocritical? Yeah. I do make choices after that time. But the thing is, at that time, that's what I knew. That's what we did. But man, we hold that record in the state, right? Best D, all classifications, and it was because we bought into an idea. But it feels like if you say, I want this, and we're like gonna hold people to it, it kind of gets into this like uncomfortable mode. The thoughts, right?
Mm-hmm.
Holding people to it.
Mm-hmm.
And man, with your injury, I feel like you just had no choice, right?
Right.
You did, but you had no choice but to like evolve and be like, well,
yeah,
I'm gonna need to, right?
And that's another one of those like gifts, right? Of like, yeah, I definitely could have said like,
Yeah.
this is an easy excuse to never do anything again.
Yeah.
You know? And like nobody would have ever said anything about that. They would have just been like, yeah, of course. Like if that happened to me, that's what I would do. But the reality is, no, it's not. Like if that happened to you when you were 21, or anyone when it happens at 21, it's like, no, man. Like you got to get going. You got to live life, and you got to figure out like how to move forward and how to let go of things, and how to hold yourself accountable, because it's only going to be you that does it.
Yeah.
You know. But that definitely is one of the gifts, because it's like the only alternative I had was to do nothing the rest of my life.
Yeah.
And so it was like that was more scary than whatever living with this would be, you know.
The puzzle piece I was telling you about, I believe we all have one, and the timeline of losses of our lives and wins, they create our beliefs, but it also creates conditions. Like, oh, if I'm gonna play college, I already need to like have a scholarship, but I think the culture today in society, what we're kind of getting on is the conditions that we want to kind of like say, hey, you're gonna need to be that. It's almost like a condition of like, don't make it conditional, make it unconditional. I want to unconditionally have a good time. We all get a trophy.
I should be able to get whatever I want and do it however I want to do it, and there shouldn't be any, consequences.
I'm gonna be dead honest. I didn't think I was gonna say this right now, but I feel like if our country were to really throw down and get down, I feel like it's my generation. I'm 37. We're gonna basically be like, hey, move over. We got this, and that is how it is out here. It will be like that out here, and people might want to say what they want to say, but Americans, we are going to have to be like, hey, you've been pushing the bar too low.
Yeah.
I'm gonna push the bar back up, because we're men of we have a value system.
Yeah.
We know in this country, man. We know, but there's a time where you have to finally be like, that's enough. Any relationship that gets toxic, anything in your life where you've been kind of like, you said you're a little too loyal, right? That's actually the weakness that's attached to that power. Not that people always have that, but usually when we know through the literature, oh, like, you're loyal. We go in the timeline of your life and we're like, hey, where in your life did you have something? It could be those divorces, not getting enough affirmations, compliments, and it's uncomfortable, and you create a power. I do believe you created powers, like you were saying, from this injury and the discomfort through the fire, right? And when you have those powers, though, it actually attaches weaknesses, and it can be plural, but there is a system to get the powers more powerful, and the weaknesses more powerful. You know how you're telling me you were killing it with snowboarding?
Yeah.
Think of how you did that, right? What was the first time like with the prosthetic, bro? What was that time down the mountain?
It was a little tough.
A little tough, right? So that's like the first time, right? So then your record after your first month was probably how much time on the hill?
Oh, it took
Of doing
me years.
it, I don't know.
You know,
Years,
it took me
okay.
years. Yeah.
So the pathways that we create in the mind, when you do like a step, cause fumble, touchdown pass, it actually can never be erased. I think that was like the old school when you were doing that gym. I kind of gave you a little bit of my old school blueprint.
Yeah, you did.
And what I'm getting at, though, is if your power is loyalty, what's your max then? What's your record? What's the best example if you've ever done with loyalty?
It's gotta be coaching at Grantsville for 7 years,
Just the way you jumped at the call and acted how you acted, that helped me with my momentum. I've known people for 10 years, and I heard things like, oh man, I gotta ask my wife. We're talking just like a channel of just talking, known people for 10 years, worked with them, and that happens, and it's like, hey, I'm not gonna be upset with them, but you at least should like say, hey, you know what, this is how I'm feeling, I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
And that stuff kind of was like another little blessing, like, hey, at least I kind of know.
Right.
You know, because that was a little weird.
Yeah.
Because I don't think like that, bro.
Yeah, that's a cheat sheet. That's, you
And
know,
Kaka,
just automatically.
I can tell
okay.
you don't think like that either, man.
Yeah.
And I think that's why, like, seriously, how many years has it been?
I mean, yeah, 12, 13.
So I just hit you up like a text. You hit me right back. You're like, when, bro? I'm down. No problems. The doors were locked. You're standing there with the prosthetic waiting, and you here.
Yeah, dude, of course.
And I love that about you, man. And I value that. And I value people like that because when I had ups and downs, there was people who was like, oh, man, he probably not going to do well.
Mm-hmm.
And even with this, it could have 4 views, it could have 10 views. But I'm going to keep doing it, doing my thing because I'm having fun, man.
Yeah,
This conversation, I feel good in my heart.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to be in here like one of the new role models in the day and age who, you go to prison, so you want to talk about it like you tough? I don't know, man. If I've come from an era, I don't know how smart you are if you go to prison. I thought if you were real hard, you had somebody else go to prison for you, dog. Right? I don't know about you, G, but I'm not trying to be in that way. But a lot of y'all went to prison. I thought if you were hard, somebody else would do the time. It's a little different. But the components are different.
Yeah.
People talk about it a lot. They got the jewelry, they got this, they got that. You know, but it's like the way that they act is like, hey, I got that, so that's my ticket, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're going to listen to me.
Right.
Bro, there's people are saying that they're not educated. They're just saying it, but they got cool little video.
Right.
They got
That's-
cool little
yeah.
something.
But it's not authentic, you know?
Yeah.
And that's the difference is like, even going back to like kids and stuff, like me and my wife were talking the other night about how like, it's exciting to think about like raising a kid, and especially when I'm missing a leg, and like, yeah, it's scary. It's scary. Like what I was gonna say with that film crew was, they were asking me like what, you know, and I was talking about my discomforts with like we were saying females and everything, and then I meet my wife, and then it shifts to like, well, if we have a kid like and he runs in the street, like how am I gonna chase him, you know? And I'm scared of those things now for sure. But while I'm saying that, my wife was taking the test in the other room, and like that's when she found out. But it's like, but we were talking the other night about like how it's cool to one, like, yeah, see how kids are being like almost coddled right now in a lot of ways, and be like, well, dude, one, look at me, like we're still like, that kid's gonna go snowboard every weekend with me, and he's gonna watch me do it on one leg, and he's gonna hear me like not complain. But then also it's like, man, it's cool to like the things that you like. Like, I feel like especially kids, but men too, it's like we give each other such a hard time of like, you know, whether it's you have a like dorky interest, like somebody loves Marvel or Star Wars, or like they're into something different, they like some weird music or whatever, or like, yeah, something like this gets like 4 views or 10 views, like, who gives a shit, man?
I'm living my life,
yeah.
man.
What is cool is you being you.
Yes,
like, what
that is
cool
what's
is you're
in.
authentic.
That
and
is
it's
what's
like,
in.
Yeah, it's like,
It's
okay.
like, I want to be another cat like how we be him, because we're us. But to teach the young generation this is valuable, but it's more like, no, like me, I'm like them. That's what's in. And the authenticity is it's almost like, oh, you're gonna wear that, you're gonna do that. Oh, you're free, man.
Man, if it's you, if that's what you love, that's cool, man. And it's cool to like what you like and be who you are, and nobody should tell you otherwise.
But it's funny because that's actually what people were trying to be pushing, like, be open, let people be how they want to be. But we want to be where we develop people to be committed and be like that. We should be able to choose that.
Right.
We should be able to because that's what we believe in. It's not about being better. You believe what you want to believe. There shouldn't be no name calling, any of that. It's respect. But over here, on the south side, this is how we do things.
Well, and that's it. Like, you can. It's cool to be you. It's cool to like what you like and be who you are. But then that also doesn't make it okay for you to just like be a dick and like, you know, take a loan and never pay it back, and like not hold yourself accountable in numerous ways. Like, like there's so many people that I know that like they same thing of like, you know, me as a junior in high school being like, yeah, coach, I'll do anything for you, and then it's like, but my knee's hurting me this week, you know. It's like, yeah, I see big dogs out there like
It's tricky.
talking about, you know, me and Landon runs a decking company, and it's like we see guys out there all the time that are talking about like how great they are at everything, but they just talk.
And I want to say, I mean, you know, I'm a Niner fan. That was hard. but I don't even know if it's WWF or if it's even real, bro. Because, I mean, at that level, when you don't play the whole game, my younger brother, man, he hit me up and he's just like, hey, man, like, I don't know, bro. I feel like you would be like swallowing anything you could get your hands on and just be like, hey, it's like, I'm playing. Like, why are guys bench themselves in the fourth quarter? Like, it just seems like it's about money, contracts, hype, a better story. Let's sell something. Let's act. Well, how could we act that would like look the coolest?
Yeah.
What could we do to just make it seem like? But I don't know, man. Some of us kind of live that way, and we don't need to pretend to be that way. And you can feel it when we talk.
Yeah, for sure.
And we're losing that a little bit, but
Yeah.
I think we can bring it back.
It's nice to have, you know, it's nice to just have you as a friend, one, but just to be able to have authentic conversations where
Oh yeah, bro.
it's also like, if you and I ever disagree, like, that's not the end of the world either,
It's
you know?
not, man.
Like, that's okay.
But there's principles on how we can go about it.
For sure.
And if people make the mistakes, like you were saying, there's a system and a philosophy, like in the language we go through. In the Essentials album, I cover it. When we get losses, yeah, I mean, we are going to learn from them.
Yeah.
But you have to be like, hey, I'm not going to do the same thing. I'm not going to fall for the same thought process. I'm going to kind of play defense to that offense. And it gives it in a more catchy way. But there's a thought process that goes through our minds to swing on the pendulum.
Oh, yeah.
But if you're going to be like, oh, I won't do it again, well, what's different? What'd you do to change?
Right.
There's like that saying, it's like, how many times, doesn't matter how many times you fall, it's about getting up. But I look at it more like, if you get up and you're in the same spot, that spot wasn't good to begin with. Make the change always. And if you do that, you will eventually get there. But per the generation, it's like, well, don't tell them like that's wrong, or you gotta be careful with that.
Yeah.
You gotta be careful with that. And the puzzle thing, like I was saying, I think if people can have principles and healthy beliefs, they adapt and become almost like they're just, you know, like a little transforming puzzle that's like, hey, I can fit this situation. I think through my life experience, I'm like, oh man, these people right here, I can. And I've had to learn to code switch and do all that.
Oh, yeah.
Get pulled over or something, not here because of, you know, with football, but other places, like, how are you, sir?
Yeah.
Doing well. It was me. But if I talk normal, you know, it's like, why are you from here? But there's already, it's another little cheat, you know?
Yeah.
But I want it in a healthy way, like where people are like, hey, I'm getting adversity here.
Yeah.
I can maintain focus. I know how to. And all I need to do is keep getting some exposure.
Yeah.
Oh, I tried it, didn't go well. I'm going to try it again. I'm going
Yeah.
to try it again. And the records, man, when you do that with powers, it just keeps going, keeps going, keeps going. But I feel like the records nowadays are like, well, yeah, I got that many likes.
Yeah.
I got
And
that
that's
many
all,
views.
That's all that matters.
It's those records.
Yeah. And
Not
it's-
like records when people aren't looking,
Yeah.
or it's like, hey, we got to do this so people know we're here,
the
right?
only records that matter
That's
are
wild, bro.
superficial ones.
That's wild, man.
But it's like, you know, like the puzzle thing, it's like, I always, for a long time, and like everybody says, you know, another way to put that would be like, you know, everything happens for a reason, right? And like, maybe, you know, but as, like I even said, like, this happened to me for a reason. Like, I've been trying to figure out what that reason was for a long time. And lately, I'd say even like 8 months, you know, I've started to shift that mindset too, into like, instead of like, you know, my puzzle piece, like, I'm going to cut my puzzle piece.
You can change it.
Yeah, and like, I'm going to
You
make this
can
happen
change
for
it.
a reason, but I'm going to make the reasons. And like it's not going to be some like grand thing that like, you know, the
Yeah.
world came down and it bestowed upon me, like, this is why it happened to you. No, it's going to be because I did all of these things, and all of those things were worth it, you know?
Per the science, the healthier way with the reality you're talking about, because it doesn't believe in, well, it doesn't suggest like, yeah, like there's something else happening, right? But it's more like it did make you who you are.
Mm-hmm.
It's part of your journey, and therefore, if you're alive, you survived it, and you actually don't believe in that reality when you use puzzles and go, well, I'm not gonna like put myself out there unless I know I'm gonna get the job. I'm not gonna do that unless I know that like it's gonna work out. I'm not gonna start that business unless I know people are gonna come. I thought I had a lot of connections. I keep low key, but it's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, but I'm gonna figure it out. I'm gonna hang in there, and I'm gonna stay focused. But you actually aren't listening to the reality that, you know what, man, I'm not saying don't make a a sound choice, but make a sound choice and then go for it.
Yeah.
And Kaka, I'm gonna say it for what it is. I heard your testimony of what happened, bro. You made the best choice you made in that moment. You were not. You see how you kind of did that thing of like,
Yeah.
oh, I was stupid. No, bro. You made a decision. You had to act quick.
Yeah.
Unless somebody else was in the arena, they don't know. And you know what though? You survived the decision, bro. And in life, I promise you, if you're just more like, hey, I made the decision, I'm gonna go, and you have that faith, that is the thing, because everything has been who you are.
Mm-hmm.
But if you worry and go, yeah, but like, let it be athletes I help, they are not playing their best game by having 1 foot in, 1 foot out. Kind
Yeah.
of like, oh, but let me wait for the right decision. Is
Yeah.
it, it's clicking, you hear
Oh
what
yeah,
I'm saying?
or if they're thinking about the last play instead of the next one, you know, it's
Absolutely.
yeah, it's definitely like, yeah. I mean, I wouldn't, whether it's a win or a loss, you know, on whatever day it is, where I'm like, whether I'm feeling up about it or down about it, like it's still, like I wouldn't take any of it back.
To have a kid, to have a beautiful wife,
Yeah,
you know, just to just have these qualities that you have. I'm not saying, hey, have it for a reason. I say, but it happened and you're here.
Yeah.
And I like who you are.
me too.
And the conversations we're going to be able to continue to have as friends, and where things will go, your career, my career, probably may not have been as possible with that. Like just an example, the labels I got from my life allow me to kind of be like let it be in the comment section, people want to say stuff, whatever. Guess what? Unless I love you, can't hurt me.
Yeah.
Like I've got all the labels.
Yeah.
Maybe minus like 1 or 2. I got a lot of them, and it's like, but I'm here now.
Yeah.
And I can just be like, well, I'm used to having rumors or being hated, or there was this, there was that. Did you hear about that fight? Which one, bro?
Yeah.
Like, well, you know, like, so it's
Yeah.
like, but I'm free, bro.
Yeah.
I'm free. And I want to teach men how to be free. And the Essentials album really is like the care package to the world, to be like, hey, let's learn how to see the world differently, get a perspective, learn your powers. If you go to therapy, learn how to like really amplify it and learn from experiences. So these experiences, what you did for me today, my man, I appreciate you.
Of course, dude.
You already know, bro. You already know I got a
Anytime.
little love for you.
Dude.
We got a little something, because you definitely were speaking that today, dog. You know what I mean?
Bro, I appreciate it. The language. That's dope, man.
It's
I'm
chill,
looking
man.
forward
You
to
definitely
rocking
bring
around
out
town.
that pendulum, kind of
Yeah,
having
dude.
that with the puzzle, and kind of just covering things. And man, we really did hit a lot. But I just this right here, I won't forget it, bro. It meant a lot, because it feels good.
Yeah, dude.
I don't care about all this. It's not even my favorite thing. It's just more like, if it's part of what I got to do to get the essentials there, who am I to be like entitled? Like, well, that's not how I like it.
Right.
If I feel I gotta do it, I gotta do it.
Yeah.
And I'm doing it, bro. So, you know, people can bet against me. I don't know how those guys end up, you know.
Yeah.
But we here. So thank you for taking that gamble with me, my man, and being a homie.
Of course,
And
dude.
grew from your perspective with things, and like I said, man, let's get off that pendulum. Huh? Move forward.
Yeah. Moving forward always, dude. Appreciate you, dog.
You too, dog.
Yeah, dude.
See you, bro.
Yeah.